Here we go. Welcome. Thanks to all who are watching or listening later on. I know we didn't publicize this one very much, but I want to welcome everyone to this first attempt to offer kind of a regular gathering space to at least share some information and help people get more familiar and a little bit better understanding of what is going on in the world and why eco-spirituality is so important for us right now. So our intention is to share a little bit of what's going on in the world right now from an eco-spiritual perspective, to share with you news about upcoming events you might get involved in, to suggest an action for the week. Novasutras really emphasizes that as much as eco-spiritual community and inner work is so important for keeping us healthy and resilient through these challenging times, that doesn't mean that we get to stop trying to make the world better. In fact, this should give us the strength, the incentive, the insight to do better and be better. And so we'll always share at least one action that you can take this week. Then we'll get into a little bit more depth, taking our time to talk about ideas and practices, some more evergreen content. We will then drop in and do some guided meditation together during this live session. After the meditation, there's a little follow-up time, maybe talking a little bit more about local events for people who are interested in finding things locally, wherever you might be. And of course, inviting people to share that information in the chat. And then responses to anything else that comes up in our chat during our live session. So I'm managing this solo right now, so I'm not sure what I'm going to see and how much I'm going to be able to track everything, but we'll do our best. So first, a little bit of just introductory background to Novasutras, and then we'll get into the news. Novasutras is about enacting change through eco-spiritual community. That's our mission. We attempt to reawaken our deep connections with the living world, to reclaim our joy, to honor our pain, to grow trusted relationships, and to take meaningful action in service to all life. And we express this through the terms Agaya and Ubuntu. Agaya is a new term unique to Novasutras, and it's a synthesis of two very important ideas. First, the Gaia theory from the sciences, recognizing that the evolution of life on Earth has been creating the conditions that support and stabilize habitats so that even more complex life can emerge. That this happens at a global scale. It happens at smaller scales all the way down, with bumps, with changes, but always this possibility of trying to create more resilient systems that allow new evolution, new complexity, new interactions to emerge. So our word Agaya takes this Gaia theory from the sciences and opens us up to the possibility that life's evolutionary co-creativity is an expression of agape, some kind of transcendent love. So Agaya is intending to honor the deep, sacred beauty of the universe and its capacity to create life, reflecting inspiration, awe, reverence, and delight in the natural world. One of the ways that Agaya shows up in the world is through our interrelationships. And the profundity of those interrelationships is perhaps best captured by this word Ubuntu from the languages of Southern Africa, specifically the Nguni Bantu languages. They all capture this idea that the Buddhists talk about as interdependent co-arising. And sometimes Ubuntu is translated as I am because we are. Sometimes it's simply translated as humanity. Humans have this unique evolutionary history that makes us incredibly sensitive to and capable of deep interrelationship. But it's a truth of all life on Earth. Even the Ubuntu philosophers like Desmond Tutu recognize that we are in a bundle of life together and that this embraces the more than human world. Thich Nhat Hanh recognized it as interbeing. Essentially, we are who and what we are as individuals, as species, as ecosystems, only because of our relationships to what is around us. So, coming from that understanding of Agaya and Ubuntu, I want to talk a little bit about what's been going on in this week in the world. I'll talk a little bit about one specific action and then talk more about globally what's going on in the world and how Agaya and Ubuntu might reflect on that. So in terms of our local action, get us back to that. I want to share a video from an action that I participated in that happened in San Francisco last Friday. We called it a block party, and it was in part celebration, but also direct action to confront one of the main funders of new fossil fuel projects that are driving climate chaos right now. So I'll share this video with you now.
When our friends refused to leave, they cut them out using power tools and arrested them.
More waters rising, this I know. There are more waters rising, they will find their way to me. There are more waters rising, this I know.
We've been cited for trespassing and resisting arrest. But nothing is scarier than climate change, climate chaos.
It was a little uncomfortable, but it was also joyous.
Just ring the bells that you can ring.
There is a crack
funding, stop all lending of new fossil fuel expansion, of new oil and gas projects, stop all lending, stop all financing.
So I can't take credit for that wonderful video. That was courtesy of Liz Cox, but was so impressed by the energy, and even in the face of such challenges, that we can come together in joy, that we can make it a welcoming space, that we can face our fears together and act on them in ways that can be effective and can make a difference. Bit by bit, we are starting to change the culture, even to change the culture of Wells Fargo investors. I was a participant and did a lockdown in a similar demonstration back in April, just before their shareholders meeting. And for the last couple of years, activist groups have presented to Wells Fargo and the other large banks, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, the Citigroup, shareholder resolutions inviting them to declare that they will stop financing fossil fuel projects. These have not garnered majorities yet, but in 2022, the one for Wells Fargo got about 11%. And my understanding is in 2023, after our action this April, it got up to 33%. So we are making progress. It's not as fast as it needs to be, but sometimes just making sure that we are visible, that we are heard, demonstrating that we are willing to risk arrest and put our bodies on the line. The demonstrators who were locked in at Wells Fargo this last Friday, they brought in firefighters and literally took saws and cut them out of where they were locked in. So this is not without some risk. But again, given the risks that we face, the existential risks from climate change, a little courage is required from some of us. I want to mention that, even if you cannot envision yourself even being in a street march, let alone being locked down and risking arrest, there are a lot of ways that you can contribute to the movement by helping to provide different kinds of support. What was really important in every lockdown that I've been involved in are the support people who just come around and, check on those who are locked down, make sure we're doing okay. Bring us a bite to eat. And if our hands are locked in, help feed us if we're there for hours and hours, just to help us be there, be present, stay focused, and keep the energy and intention peaceful. That is such important work. The people who before and after the event are lending their support, are lending their ideas, are helping to create the signs or create activities. My role in the events last Friday was to help create, we actually did sort of carnival games to teach about climate change and the fossil fuel connection, but also to be inviting, to remind people that just because it's challenging times doesn't mean there is no joy. In fact, there can be tremendous joy in collective action. So I wanted to share that with you all. And that brings me to the challenging times that we're in. I'm expecting that everyone who watches this video has seen news reports of these incredible heat waves, flooding, drought. People are losing their lives. And it's not just people. And this is something that you won't hear in most reporting. Now, you'll hear about the challenges. You'll hear, how extreme the heat is. You might hear a little bit about how more vulnerable people are experiencing this. And by more vulnerable, partly I mean health-wise, that this can be such a challenge. Oh, I haven't even mentioned, of course, the wildfires and the smoke. 3 years ago, that was happening here where I live in California, that we were just under this thick blanket of wildfire smoke from nearby wildfires. This year, the wildfires in Canada seem to be bringing their smoke mostly to the eastern United States. And of course, those are not the only wildfires. There are major wildfires, I believe, in Spain and Portugal once again this year, probably other places that are hot and dry as a result. And of course, this has happened to Australia in dry years. We know that the record-breaking heat that we are experiencing this summer for the Northern Hemisphere is likely to be even worse in the Southern Hemisphere, starting in November, December, January, February, with all the wildfires that might result from that. This is, again, very dangerous to very young and older people who are less physiologically able to regulate their internal temperature. So those people need to be protected. If you have those people in your life who are in these places experiencing extreme heat or wildfires, taking care of them is one of the most important things you can be doing right now, making sure that they have access to cooling of some kind, that they can be in spaces where the air quality is better. It's so challenging, but so important. One of the big challenges that we're seeing this year is that the heat is persisting into the night in places where it hasn't always done that before. And that makes heat waves much more deadly to people. But we know that this is especially hard on people who are not in homes, who don't have access to air conditioning. This is especially devastating to essential outdoor workers, people who work in construction, people who grow and pick our food, everyone's food. This essential work is so risky in extreme heat because you can't be in air conditioning, you have to be exposed. And so we have to make sure that those people are taken care of, that they get breaks, that they get plenty of water. Of course, it's hugely risky to unhoused people, to the people that our current economic system denies access to housing because of work conditions. So we need to make sure that these vulnerable people have access to cooling centers in cities, have access to shelter, and are taken care of as much as possible. And of course, there's the effect of these extremes of climate, our broken record breaking that's happening on the more than human world. What is happening to birds and other wildlife? What is happening in the world's oceans, where the record-breaking temperatures are even more extremely beyond the norm? And so many organisms that rely on a narrow range of temperatures and cannot regulate their body temperature outside of that are at extreme risk that can lead to cascading ecosystem collapse. This is where we see coral bleaching. This is where we see, a few years ago, these mass die-offs of sea stars. So we know that in addition to trying to respond to the immediate crisis that people are experiencing right now, we also need to do all that we can to rein this in, to prevent climate change from getting even worse. And that means doing all that we can to get to zero greenhouse gas emissions as quickly as possible. Rethinking our energy and transportation sectors, rethinking our food systems, and reducing especially all of the methane that's related to large animal industrial agriculture. Cattle, pigs, sheep are huge methane producers, and that is such a potent greenhouse gas. So anything that you can do personally to reduce your carbon footprint, that's important. But even more important is to work for change at the larger systems level. And finally, we need to think about the deep change that needs to happen, because we're going to need personal resilience to do the work that needs to be done at the community level and at larger scales. But we are also going to need to change the deep mindsets that got us into this mess, to start sowing the seeds of what might be an ecological civilization that can endure for the long term, that can ameliorate the harms, and that can find a new way forward. So that is what we are devoted to in Novasutras, this deep change in systems thinking, while we continue to do those immediate recovery and holding actions that the world is calling us to do. So next, I want to share with you some events that are coming up that can be helpful in learning about that new mindset, in building our own personal resilience for facing what's to come, and in doing some of those holding actions. So I'm going to show you a little bit about that here. So in Novasutras, a lot of what we do is offering especially guided meditations to help build our resilience. And I'll give a little example of that in just a few minutes. So we have that coming up. That will actually be part of our Circle of Agaya and Ubuntu event this afternoon. The Circle of Agaya and Ubuntu is open to our supporters on Patreon and to people who join Novasutras as uplifters, who work as volunteers to help promote and produce events, to help bring more people into Novasutras, and help share the information that we have to share, the ideas that we have to share. So we're having that Circle of Agaya and Ubuntu this afternoon. July 25th, I will be offering guided meditation. I offer these on Insight Timer at the phases of the moon, using that as a launching pad to not only for sort of the metaphors that we can learn from of what's going on in the phases of the moon, but also using that as a time to gather because it is globally relevant, because the phase of the moon is the same no matter where you are on Earth. So it helps as a reminder, a way to really reinforce and deepen the truth that we are globally interconnected. So I'll be offering that right at the moment of the waxing moon on July 25th. July 25th, the Deep Transformation Network is also offering listening space. This is a chance to just come together in a place where you can talk about whatever is on your mind, hear from others, and know that the space is dedicated to deep, heartful listening. A little later on July 25th, Jeremy Lent of Deep Transformation Network is offering a talk called The Tao of Civilization. Again, talking about this idea of what would it mean to have an ecological civilization. On August 1st, I'll be offering our full moon meditation. We also have a group on Insight Timer that gathers at the first of every month to do a group meditation, listening to a recording together at the same time. This one is an introduction to the ideas of Agaya and Ubuntu as part of your meditation practice. And the first of the month happens to fall on the first Tuesday of the month. So that's also the day of the monthly live meeting that happens on the Deep Transformation Network. On the Deep Transformation Network or on Zoom, we do a meditation for regeneration. This is some gathering time before and after, and then a little bit of meditation together. Sometime between the 1st and the 9th, I haven't set the timing yet, I'll be offering our cross-quarter celebration for Novasutras. Novasutras, not only do we come together at the phases of the moon, but we come together at these 8 key points of the year when the sun is directly over the equator at the equinoxes, when the sun is over the tropic lines at the solstices, one in June, one in December, and then the midpoints between those. So early August, really on August 7th, the sun will be at the exact midpoint between the equator and the northern tropic line, the Tropic of Cancer. I'm hoping to be able to schedule it for during that time point, but I'll be traveling, so I'm a little concerned about whether I can offer it then, or I might have to offer it a few days before to make sure that I have good internet access. So I'll be posting that as soon as I figure it out, which should be within a few days. Other organizations offering wonderful events. There's a group called the Agaya Way, another eco-spiritual group, and they're doing a book conversation with Stephen Harding, author of Gaia Alchemy, and some other really wonderful books that are a great way to connect with eco-spirituality. July 20th is also the anniversary of the first human moon landing. That's at 1:17 Pacific time. So check your local calendar. This, again, can be a time to really sort of think about what that means to us as a species. There are some local events. I'll go into more about those later. The Earth Holder Sangha has meetings, online meetings, and their next one coming up is Sunday. And again, check for your local time on that. For signatories of People versus Fossil Fuels, they have gatherings almost every Monday. And on Tuesday, the 25th, there's so much going on, but that's also a gathering of systems thinking series with Rianne Eisler, famous for her book, The Chalice and the Blade. But really, she's done a lot of important work around caring economics and the economics of partnership, or partnerism, I think is the new word she's using. So that event is coming up on Tuesday, the 25th as well. Saturday, the 29th is International Tiger Day. And Sunday, the 30th, Monday, the 31st is the peak of the Delta Aquarids meteor shower. So other great Earth events that are happening that you might want to get onto your calendar. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about actions for this week, and then we'll get into just a brief guided meditation, and then maybe go into a little bit about what's going on in the local calendars. So one thing that I should share with you as an action that you can take right now, if you are able to make a financial donation this week, any size is welcome, but a friend and an uplifter of Novasutras has started this GoFundMe for a known friend in Uganda who is doing critical work trying to protect 32 teens and young adults who have been, pushed out of their families, their homes, their schools, or their jobs, trying to get them some shelter and protection under Uganda's new, very oppressive anti-LGBTQ plus laws. So any amount that you can donate specifically will help these young people to get into a safer housing situation, to get some food, and for the teenagers to get them into schools. There's no free schooling in Uganda, so that costs money as well. So we're helping to support these individuals. And if you have anything you can donate, I'll put the link in the YouTube description, and try to put it into chat in case there are people who are on live right now. But you can, any amount that you can donate, even if it's just a couple of dollars, will make a tremendous difference in making sure that they are taken care of. Now, if that's not an action that you can do this week, if you just aren't able to donate funds or that doesn't feel comfortable to you, an action that I'd like you to consider taking is to have a climate conversation with someone that you've never talked to about climate before. The extreme weather events all over the world are a great way to start that conversation. It doesn't have to be deep. You don't have to be an expert. Mostly, what's really useful is to acknowledge that these extreme events are part of the unfolding climate crisis, and to talk about how you feel about that, how it might be affecting your own life, and very importantly, to ask questions and listen in terms of how that other person is feeling about it and how it looks to them in their life. So many people, the vast majority of people in the US, can go through weeks or months never talking to anyone about the climate crisis. Many of them are very much aware of it, wish that something could be done, but they don't think anyone cares because they don't hear about it in interpersonal conversations. Catherine Hayhoe has done great work around this. There's lots of other studies and resources. I'll try to get some of the links to that posted, but you can check out, you can look for climate conversations on the novasutras.org site, also on a wonderful site called This Is What We Did, thisiswhatwedid.org. They have guidance about climate conversations, links to a recording with Catherine Hayhoe, and a lot more information. So again, I'll put that in the description once this becomes not a live stream, but a recording. So those are two actions. Do both if you're feeling motivated to do both. If you have the means and the will to donate to that GoFundMe project, please, please do that. And if not, or even if you do, I really encourage you to try to get out there and have a climate conversation with someone that you haven't talked to about the climate. And of course, other actions that you can take are get connected with Novasutras. We're on Instagram, on Facebook, on even Twitter, if you're still using that, on Mastodon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, all of those usual things. And super importantly, share it with someone else. Maybe as part of your climate conversation, you can tell them, there's this group called Novasutras that's really focused on helping us to be resilient and to think deeply in the face of this climate crisis. You can check us out at novasutras.org. Maybe even share these ideas of Agaya and Ubuntu. So working with Agaya and Ubuntu, I am now going to bring us into our guided meditation. So we'll just do this for a couple of minutes so that you get a taste for it. And again, you can look for these on Insight Timer. You can go to novasutras.org/events and find links for these and more information about how to participate. They're always free. We try to make everything freely available. Novasutras very much operates from a gift economy model. So I'm inviting you now, whatever's going on, just to close your eyes if that's comfortable. Take a deep breath or two. Feel what's happening in your body. Are there places that feel tight or agitated? Just say hello to those places. I acknowledge you. I hear you. I feel that. And if you can, offer for that place of tightness or constriction or unease to relax with your next exhale. Just breathe it out. Relaxing maybe your neck and shoulders. Letting your belly relax. Letting your weight drop down toward the earth below you. And as your weight begins to settle below you, feeling those points of contact where you are supported. I invite you to imagine that a welcoming, loving Mother Earth is cradling you, is drawing you into her embrace and allowing you to just rest and settle. And as you start to feel held, supported, comforted by the love of the living earth, inquire within, how does that feel? How does my heart feel to be supported by a loving earth? How does my belly feel to be held and welcomed by all of life? How do my shoulders feel? How do my legs feel? How does my breathing feel? Noticing the breath moving in and out of your body. This exchange between your inner atmosphere and the global atmosphere. Drawing in the resources you need on each inhale and letting go of what is no longer serving you on each exhale. Every breath weaving you into the community of life on earth. Every breath a gentle reminder that you live in a world of Agaya and Ubuntu. Every breath an opportunity to offer some gratitude for the beauty and wonder of life on earth. Breathing in and out in a cycle of Agaya and Ubuntu. The beautiful reciprocity of the living world. Feeling that moving up from your heart center to the crown of your head. Out from your heart center, across your shoulders, along your arms, and out to your hands. And down from your heart center, down into your belly, your pelvis, legs, and feet. And then starting to bring a little motion into those feet and hands, into those wrists and ankles, legs and arms, shoulders and hips, spine and neck. And bringing your focus back up into your head, very gently open your eyes and let your gaze move around the space that you're in right now, finding beautiful reminders of Agaya and Ubuntu, of the ways that you are connected. Thank you for being part of this practice. Thank you for all of the beautiful work that you do in the world and the gifts that you bring. If you want to share some of those gifts with a welcoming community, I invite you to get more connected with Novasutras. We believe that Novasutras is creating the bridge between activists who may not even recognize that they need spiritual community to support their work, and those who recognize their need for spiritual or contemplative practice and who need support in becoming more active in the world. Because we are all in this together. Because the actions that we take can help to heal us as we are healing the earth. And because the healing work that we do for ourselves allows us to show up in the world as the best, most resilient versions of ourselves, so that we can be effective agents for bringing Agaya and Ubuntu into the world. So we invite you to check out the Novasutras website. You can join our conversation space on the Deep Transformation Network. We have lots of information and content there. Of course, you can learn more about events, find guided meditation recordings and links to live events. You can follow us, follow me, Michelle Merrill, on Insight Timer. Hopefully you're following us now on YouTube, but don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell to get notified of upcoming live events and new postings there. All of the other social media. Oh, and I should remember to invite you to support us on our Patreon. So if you have already donated to help that work in Uganda, and you feel like you can offer a monthly contribution to Novasutras, any size is wonderful. And I'm looking at the wrong part of the page. Anyway, so go to patreon.com/Novasutras to find out more about that. Again, there'll be links in the description, and I'll be adding some of those links. And I offered to talk a little bit more about some of the local events coming up. For those who are interested in events, mostly I've got local events in the Bay Area. If you know about events that you think ought to be shared, the next time I do a live stream like this, put those links in the comments, or tell us about that event in the comments. If you have news items that you think ought to get covered the next time we do a live stream, put that in the comments as well. Share what you're up to. Let us know what's going on. If you do take the action of having one of those climate conversations, you could talk about that in the comments so that we can see how that is going for people. And again, you can find support for that at thisiswhatwedid.org. So I'll put that link in the description soon. Ooh, okay, so I went a little longer than I was hoping to go, but I think we did it. Oh, right. Local calendars. Still haven't gotten to local calendars. Working on that now. And I will just share screen on that again. For others, thank you for being here. If you're interested in supporting, making stuff like this happen, participating in it, maybe even hosting some of it, sign up as an uplifter on the Novasutras website, novasutras.org. We need more people engaged in this work. So I'm just going to share my calendar to share a little bit more of some local actions that are coming up in the weeks to come. Oh, I didn't get to share. No. So on Thursday evening, the 20th, there's a Friends of Heuristic monthly meeting. So these are people who are helping local Indigenous groups in the South Bay and Santa Cruz, Monterey Bay areas to protect their sacred land. So they have meetings, monthly meetings, and that's coming up this Thursday afternoon. Again, you can find out more by checking out novasutras.org/events. And there are links on the calendar there. Oh, that's right here. So you can check out that. And that's got the Zoom link and more information. On Saturday, there's a rally to try to help keep coal out of Oakland, California. So if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, in the East Bay, you can hop on BART and get to the West Side Missionary Baptist Church to join this rally. There will be music and food and, of course, speakers. And this is, again, this connection between spirituality and environmental group organized by the Interfaith Council of Alameda County and No Coal in Oakland. So check them out. Check out their social media as well. In Santa Cruz County, the Metro Board of Directors is, I don't know if it's the last Friday or the fourth Friday of the month. And before that, the Friends of Heuristic action meetings. I haven't checked to confirm that these are still happening on that fourth Thursday, but you can contact Friends of Heuristic to find out more about that. Public transit is such an important social justice issue in addition to being an environmental issue. Access to public transit is vital for low-income workers to be able to get to work reasonably. It's vital for people who are disabled or unable to drive or simply can't afford a car. So this is an incredibly important social justice issue. If you're not in Santa Cruz County and you're still watching this, I urge you to find out when does your local Metro Board or Transit Board have their regular meetings that are open to the public so that you can help with that action. There's a great group in Santa Cruz County called Equity Transit that I encourage you to learn more about. And I didn't talk about International Tiger Day, but we'll get that. So I think that's all I'm going to share for now. Again, thank you, those who came to watch this, those who held on till the end. Thank you so much for participating. I hope that you do more to connect with us, and we'll see you again soon. If you can, leave in the comments some thoughts about how this went for you, some suggestions about times when live streams might be more accessible to you. Anything that you want to share that can help us do a better job in the future. Deeply, deeply appreciated. Again, so much gratitude for you being here, for the ways that you show up in the world. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again really soon. Ubuntu and Agaya to you. Be well.